This is your host, Tutasha Maheda Kumur, for Rit Nalej Radio. All right, now let's get into the introduction for today. We always start with the date. It's year 84. As you can see, the month of Hansu, and the 18th of the month, Hansu, 84 year. So we can see right here, we're getting toward the end of the Nuwabian year. So our year does not match up with the Caucasoid. Sorry. I know we're all used to that, even me. You know what I mean? But we got to change that. We got to start operating off of different time than the devil. All right, so we're going to go over that real quick. And then we need to go over the pledge. I'm not going to say it in Nuwabic yet because my Nuwabic has changed so much. I'm not satisfied with my pronunciation. So give me a month on it. So the pledge of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, as I stand beneath our sacred and holy flag, I vow to be loyal, obedient, as natural as the Nile flows, to the laws of our Constitution that govern our nation. To this cause, I hold my head up high. With pride, I pledge to protect and defend all within this great nation, both family and friends. To ensure all has their equal rights, to this cause I would lay down my very life. As I stand beneath this sacred and holy seal, I vow to be loyal, sincere, and I value integrity with zeal. All right. So, this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is Nuwabians, Nuwabets, Nuwabgents. I don't know. I'm just making up words now. But I think y'all know what I mean. Now, I was listening to the Musbato YouTube channel and heard some things. Hold on. I got notes here. But, of course, it's AMUN NUMA. And a woman on here named Tefnut Mintum. And they were talking about Dr. York's case, of course, because that's what makes everybody money, is talking about Dr. York's case, right? Pulling on the heartstrings of those who were genuinely wanting the master teacher to be free. You know what I mean? So, but this show in particular is called Making Money Off Dr. York's Name, right? So naturally, I'm going to click on it, being the affirmer of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. Now, this woman named Tefnut Mintum was talking about some kind of Yamasee Creek Council, right? And I guess this Creek Council was created to establish a tribal role. Now, we are definitely going to go over what was said in this video. I got it time stamped and all that. So, without further ado, let's actually get things started here. I'm not going to waste too much time, but I do have some commentary that oh, wait a minute. Okay, hold up. No. There we go. So we're actually going to mute the music here for a minute. Okay. So we got the music muted. I can't hear it. Perfect. Exactly what we want. Now, we're going to skip around this video because I got a couple points I want to make. And so before we get started here, we want to make sure anytime that the master teacher's name is being spoken, that we come on point, not with some emotional crap like Amun NUMA does. You know, he spills this crap on the internet. He don't know what he's talking about. He said the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors are terrorists. Now, I don't know if he's doing that for clickbait. Maybe he can't read. I know his reading comprehension and understanding is not at a very high level. But this whole drama thing that he goes through is just hurting Sabians. It don't hurt Nuwabians because he's not a Nuwabian, you know. So he can continue hurting his own tribe. His own tribe told him to keep his mouth shut. But it seems like the guy is just built for drama. You know, maybe that's what he did on the street with Deuce York and Jacob York. I know he used to hang around them. And you are who you hang with. You are who you hang with. So, I mean, the guy's been spewing out nonsense for a long time, saying that the United Nuwabian Nations Constitution is their constitution. How is that? The word Sabian isn't mentioned once in the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors Constitution. So that don't make no sense. And he's just making up stuff. And I usually don't say nothing, but the reason I'm compelled to say something today, brothers and sisters, is because a person called Treaty Nations, or he went by the moniker or screen name of Treaty Nations, was actually on here speaking truth, and AMUN NUMA didn't like it, so he muted his mic. He muted his mic. The only person speaking truth on this wretched platform called Pas Musbatu, and he mutes the brother's mic. Now, we gonna go over this. No, I got the prompt on the video right here. So we're gonna go through this. I ain't gonna take all your time, but let's go where the woman speaks. Her name is Tefnut Mintum.
Baba would be, quote, freed. Am I correct in saying that?
Not completely.
Well, let's go back.
The mission was to
Get some context.
So the name may have changed, but I'm just using that because that's what I know. The mission was to simply establish a tribal role, present it before Judge Ashley C. Royal, and Baba would be, quote, freed. Am I correct in saying that?
Okay. So that's some pretty heavy stuff right there, right? He says, present the role. A role needs to be presented at the request of the Judge Ashley C. Royals, right? Now, he said he heard this. Now, an intelligent man would try to go back and look at the paperwork, which is made public. So we're operating already off hearsay, right? So check this out, because the judge wants a tribal role to get Baba out, Amunnubi. They create some fake Yamasee council. Listen.
Not completely.
Okay, so what am I missing?
Okay, well, initially, the Yamasee Creek interim government was formed to free Baba with the tribal rule. You're right in that respect. The people who came together were not familiar with the indigenous lane, if I may.
Right. Yes.
And so what I did.
Okay, that's a red flag right there. So basically, since the early 90s, the nation, the majority tribe within the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors was the Yamasee, because the Afamer is Dr. York, of course. It couldn't be anybody else at that time. So how do you not know the indigenous path? If you're one of us, how do you not know the indigenous path? What path were you on? Or were you just not paying attention the whole time? And what is your standing on Dr. York's freedom? Meaning, what part are you playing in his freedom? What are you doing? What are you building? Because Dr. York, if he's locked in with the beast and he got kidnapped, what are you doing to build? Let's continue.
I can speak for myself. I listened to a few people who were on the indigenous path because Baba said he was the sovereign and he was dealing with the Yamasee Creek. So I said, all right, people are fighting in different lanes. Let me see if I can communicate with some people. And I reached out to two people. One was Nepta at first, and we had a conversation. It was pretty good. I came back to my people, which was two sisters. One sister had a daughter who was also in the conversation. And we said, okay, we'll have a meeting. And we decided to have a conference call with Neb. It turned out pretty good. And we decided that we're going to go along with the indigenous fight. Now, we didn't know anything about it. You know, we're new to it, but we know we got to get the master teacher out. So we're doing what we can. I'm giving everybody the play from my perspective, right? Now, we got together. We decided to bring some more people on board. We got two more brothers on board. So it was about 7 of us. And we decided how we're going to plan the freedom fight. Now, there was some stuff going on with Tabby Jet at the time. So we wanted to listen to what she had to say because she said she wasn't communicating with the master teacher. So we said, before we decide on a plan, let's listen to what she had to say. Neb was impatient. He had a plan and he wanted to implement it right away. So he decided that he was going to go with some other people and bring them in without letting us know what was what. Those people were...
Now, that should raise a red flag. You set up your council, then you bring in this guy named Neb, and all of a sudden he just wants to take over? So this is why a lot of women shouldn't run stuff. Because one man come through, he see easy takings. He like, oh, these women, they don't know what they're doing. I'm just going to come over, run the whole council, and make money off it. You know what I'm saying? Anytime the master teacher's name is involved in Yamasee, dudes is looking to make money, unfortunately. You know, Dr. York talked about Dr. York talked about this on the Owls of Patmos. You know what I'm saying? So, hold on for 1 second. Yo, okay, I can't talk. Whoa, can anybody hear me? Hold up. Okay. Let's see. I think you guys can hear me. Yeah, the levels are good. I just had to turn off the echo because it was bothering me. So at the end of the day, a man gonna see easy pickings if he sees a woman trying to run stuff. I'm not sexist. That's just the way it is, especially if that woman is not very knowledgeable about a situation like this and strong about it. Not like Tabajet. Tabajet was crazy. She belongs in an insane asylum. But this sister right here, she's been misled. And we're going to see toward the end of the video how misled she is. But at this point, she's easy pickings because there's a male, there's like an alpha about to come into her life in this council, and he about to run the whole thing. You know, and she doesn't know she's playing checkers while this brother playing chess. And his king is about to knock her queen off and her king off. So let's keep going here.
Iris, Sakamtat, Patamtat Okran, and a sister by the name of Miriam, I think, and another sister. So when they came in, we were so excited because, and Dana Dixon was one of the other sisters. So we were excited. We're getting people who knows the master teacher, lived on the land, and we're going to do this stuff and we're going to go down fighting, But when we were introduced at the meeting, it didn't go very well. And every consecutive meeting after that, did not go well. There was a lot of arguments coming from their side, attacks from their side, and we're like, we're not here for all of that. We're here to plan the master teacher's freedom. Long story short, it didn't work out. We had a meeting. We decided that we're not going to go with them on the team, and we continued. Unbeknownst to me now, some of them did not know we were continuing, but we went ahead anyway, right?
I'm a pause it right there because hold up, that echo came back. Hold on. Okay, I'm still trying to figure this out, y'all. But so she's gonna go on telling the story about the background, more of the background. But I just wanted y'all to listen because they formed this council, and I'm not gonna make the video that long. But this brother named Neb pretty much took over the council. That's why I mentioned the alpha male, the alpha man came in and he took over the pride. If you know anything about animals and tigers and lions, right? When a male tiger, no, I'm sorry, a male lion comes to a female lion, and that female lion already got cubs, you know the male lion kills the cubs. He kills those cubs, and he makes his own cubs with the female lion, right? Because he knows he ain't trying to raise somebody else's children, right? He ain't trying to do that, and that's the way of the wild. You know, only the strong survive out there. So I'm not saying the brother impregnated this woman. That's not what I'm saying, right? What I am saying, though, is he took over. He would look at it kind of like I would look at it. You know, I wouldn't take over because I'm more of a team player. I understand that for the long term, it does need to be a real council. And I'm not so selfish to say, hey, well, I'm just going to take over from this female. I'm not going to respect her at all. I'm just going to take over. You know, but that's what the brother did. So let's move on to another point in the video. Now, this point of the video is where a brother named Treaty Nations came in, and he's actually speaking reason, right? The brother is actually speaking reason, but since AMUN NUMA is not really used to people speaking reason to him, you know, he's usually talking to people on his level, which is a very low level. You know, I don't think he's married. He don't have no children. And I think, you know, he kind of still running his mouth like he's like 20 years old. And that's why he doesn't even get along with people in his own tribe, because he has no interpersonal business skills, or just he doesn't have any like speaking skills to get along with people who don't necessarily share the same viewpoint as he does. He has a real problem with that. You know what I mean? And so I want you guys to listen to this brother named Treaty Nations, you know what I mean? And he's going to start talking about international law. And he's also going to start talking about how the tribes have no real power. You know, the United States has formed treaties with different nations, you know, for the past couple hundred years. But the tribes compared to the United States, they weak. United States, we let these people take over and we're paying the price, right? You know, that's what happens. When you get defeated in war, like the Amunnubi, the Yamasee fought bravely, though. You know, so we all can be proud of that. But we were too nice to these Caucasoids, and they came over here and took over. And that's the sum of it. But I want you to listen to the brother, because this woman starts talking about sovereign citizens of. Hold on, let's just play it.
So the objective was to get a role, according to what Ashley Royal said. When the tribe appears, you know, we can come and claim our chief, and we'll see how that goes in terms of freedom. Now, getting the role up, we're trying to organize this thing and figure out what's what, and we're taking the lead from Neb. But Neb is dealing with certain aspects that we weren't privy to, and we didn't know certain things at the time. And then
But you heard the part, you know, Neb took over. He took over. I listened to the video already. He took over. So let's go to where the other brother comes in. And this sister starts talking about sovereign citizen crap.
things were being placed up under the Fed, and Baba is not going with the Fed. You can't be a sovereign and be under the Fed.
Right.
Now let's talk about sovereignty, because people are getting that twisted.
Okay.
Sovereignty, when you're born a sovereign.
No, you are not born a sovereign. I don't know where she got that from, but you are not born a sovereign as a baby. Sovereignty basically means you have the resources and the richness to provide for yourself, right? So a baby who can't do nothing for themselves, like when we came into this world out of our mother, you're not sovereign. You don't even have your will yet. You know what I mean? You just come into the world, you're not sovereign, right? Matter of fact, let me grab my phone, because Dr. York already went through this in the Constitution, right? He already said these old Nuwabians, they're not really reading, they're emotional beings, which we all are emotional beings, but let's be emotional about the facts. You know what I'm saying? They're not emotional about the facts. They just emotional to be emotional. And like Dr. York said in that one song with the Anunnaki, because you know Dr. York is one of the 24 elders, he said we couldn't use our emotions to be sad. So these people are just totally out of control. So let's look at the definition. I'm looking on my cell phone here. We're going to look at Oxford Dictionary. And I'm going to type in the word sovereign here. And we're going to see what this word really means. Because I think she's just making it up. And see, making it up don't work in law, because the judge and them they're going to look at the same definitions I'm looking at or in the Black Laws Dictionary. All right, so it came up, a noun. The first marking of the word is a noun, and it says a supreme ruler, especially a monarch. No babies there. A baby cannot be a supreme ruler. 2, a former British gold coin. We're not going to count that. Okay. Adjective, the first marking of the word, possessing supreme or ultimate power. In the example sentence, in modern democracies, the people's will is in theory sovereign. 1A or 1B, attributive, in parentheses, of a nation or of its affairs, acting or done independently and without outside interference, right? We'll say this is 1C, attributive, archaic or literary, possessing royal power and status, right? All right. Now, does a baby qualify to fit the markings of these words? A supreme ruler? No. Now, a baby born in a hierarchy of a king, one day when he grows up and he learns to be sovereign and to rule a nation, yes, at that. But a baby just born is not sovereign, possessing supreme or ultimate power. Baby does not possess supreme or ultimate power. Acting or done independently. A baby cannot act without the parents or the midwife or the doctor delivering the baby. Okay. And then possessing royal power and status. The baby ain't there yet, but he's in succession to be king when he becomes of age. So again, you know, this woman doesn't know what she's talking about, but I don't want to judge her too harshly, you know what I'm saying? But she doesn't know what she's talking about. And these are the idiots trying to free the master teacher. Come on, the master teacher deserves somebody more intelligent. If you think that's disrespectful, then if the shoe fits, you wearing it.
The only time you lost your sovereignty is when a birth certificate came into play. Once your parent or parents signed the application to get you a birth certificate, that's when your sovereignty went out the window. So in order to get,
Well, you know, That's not true at all. You know what I'm saying? So again, look, when you get a birth certificate, a certificate means that you have a share in something. A certificate of goods, right? A certificate, you're informing the government that you had a baby. And now you're put in the registry. Now it could be argued that you give up your sovereignty, but it's not giving up your sovereignty, because as a baby, we just explained by the marking of the word, that's not sovereignty. She just made up the definition. And a lot of her talk I've heard before. She talks just like a sovereign citizen. You know, the birth certificate makes you a slave. The social security number makes you a slave. You're sovereign. And to a point, as a U.S., not as a U.S. citizen, as a state citizen, you do have some sovereignty, but you don't have any resources. That's the problem. And those who are sovereign have resources. You know, they rule the land, right? So a lot of sovereign citizen talks about straw man, being sovereign, and just a lot of pseudo law that the judges have talked about. But let her keep talking.
Get your sovereignty back, you got to give up the birth certificate. It's just that simple. Now, from the birth certificate came different accounts that the state set up, making you property of the state. So now you're moving into citizenship, and our doctrine teaches about people being citizens, and when you become citizens, you become property.
Okay, she said something very interesting there. She said, in our doctrine, when you become a citizen, you become property of the state. What doctrine is this? That's not Nuwabu, and it's not in the Little Guide for Nuwabian book either. So what doctrine is she talking about, y'all? Shenu, what doctrine is she talking about? It's not Nuwabu, that's for sure. That's for sure. Because that is not right knowledge, not right wisdom, it's not right understanding, and it's definitely not sound right reasoning. And I want to add in one more. It's not right work either. She's not working properly to settle the issue. She's not working. She doesn't know how to study the law, obviously. Right? And that was the first time for me actually noticing. She said, in our doctrine, but the doctrine is not Nuwabu. What doctrine is it? And of course, Amun Numa is not smart enough to catch up on the words that's coming out of this sister's mouth. Right? He's not that smart. So, but I'm above average highbrowness. So I'm asking Mrs. Tefnut Mintum, what doctrine are you speaking of? Is this Neb's doctrine? Is this some kind of Wu Sabat doctrine? Satanic doctrine? What doctrine is this? I think she's talking about the sovereign citizen doctrine. And we need to get into the sovereign citizen. We all know that the sovereign citizen doctrine and the straw man started with Caucasians, anti-government Caucasians. And one of the most famous ones is a guy named Roger Elvig. And he's a racist, hateful Caucasoid. And he hates the government. Right? And they're the ones who came up with the straw man theory and UCC and owning your own body. Now, you tell me one case law where a judge has actually agreed with this twisted ideology of the law. You'll never find one judge to agree with this. So, oh man, I have to answer that later. But you'll never see one judge say that, you know what, that's the straw man. You're right. Let him go free. It ain't that easy. There's no such thing as a straw man. and these people are living fantasies. But let's keep going.
AKA shadow property. That's why Trump is talking all this talk right now about he can deport American citizens, because when you're a citizen, you move from the private, from a living sentient being on the private side to being property on the public side. And
Okay. So if you're familiar with sovereign citizen talk, that's where she's getting all this from. You know, the private and public law, which there is private and public law, so she ain't lying about that. Is she talking about Trump can deport U.S. citizens? No, we can't. Name one statute or code that says a U.S. president can deport an American citizen, a United Statesian citizen. She's just running her mouth. And the reason I feel offended about it is because her master teacher is probably Taj Tariq Bey. He talks about a lot of this Moorish sovereign citizen, which is basically white ideology. It's Caucasoid ideology. So this is what AMUN NUMA allows on his show. And this is why people really don't respect AMUN NUMA, because he just runs his mouth like this is like the block, like this is some gangbang block, and he just lets anybody come on here and spew this crap, which is one of the reasons why the master teacher's in prison in the first place. Because if you remember, Deuce York and some of his cronies tried to do the same UCC stuff with Dr. York, tried to put a UCC 1 statement, and I think a UCC lean, I think it's like a UCC 3. And they say, oh, we own the body of Dr. No, you don't. That's just magical paperwork. I call it magical paperwork because ain't none of it gonna come true. None of it. These people are just some fake ass black beings. They're not Nuwabians. They might be Sabians, but they are definitely not Nuwabians. And these are just some old, tired Negroes trying to act like there's something when they're not. You know what I mean? So all this sovereign citizen talk, I want y'all to hear this. I want y'all to hear this.
if you have a social security number, which is a tracking number for you, because you become like inventory, because the public deals with commerce. Everything is commerce, including humans and humans. So once they see you as property, they can do with you whatever they will. And when you are in their court and you are filing paperwork in their court is designed for them to win and for you to lose.
Okay, so I think y'all got the point there. We're going to skip ahead to the brother Treaty Nations when he comes in.
They're getting ripped off with all this status correction stuff. And then, okay, if you correct your status, correcting your status means that, what are you saying, actually? You're going from a public citizen to a private citizen?
You're on your way to becoming a private citizen, but
look, private and public is on a case-by-case basis. Look, if you sign up for public benefits, welfare, unemployment, and other public services from the government, you're entering into like a public contract. But if you don't enter none of those services and you provide for yourself and you're able to feed yourself, you know, go get you a job and all that, and you don't need public services, then you're locked into a private contract, right? So contracts are a huge part of our lives. So if you look at the Constitution, I think it's Article 1, Section 10, it talks about the government cannot impair the obligations of a contract. And y'all probably don't know what that means. Basically, if I sign a contract with my buddy, with my friend, and it says, look, for every week, I'm going to give you 20 apples and you give me $100. every week. So I'm making what, $400 a month. Now, if I give him 20 apples and he only gives me 50, I could let it slide. But let's say I don't let it slide. Then I can go to court and say, hey, me and this guy signed a private contract, and from Article 1, Section 10, the government can't break that contract. All the government could do is enforce the contract, right? So if I go to court, I say, hey, he only gave me $50 for 20 apples, but he signed a contract saying he would give me 100. All the judge gonna look at it and say, you signed it. Is that your signature, sir? Okay, you signed it. That's your name. It's notarized. Why didn't you pay the 100? And he gonna give some lame excuse. The judge gonna slam his gavel and say, you owe, give him the rest of the $50 because you signed it. And contract is the law. It takes you out of the Constitution when you sign a private contract, right? So you can't claim constitutional rights when you're under the obligation of a contract in which you sign, right? So let's keep going.
If you do a UCC, right, one, you're pretty much just giving, it's a simple public notice that you're in control of your straw. That's basically what.
Bing, 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 bing. Straw man, I told y'all. She's all into this sovereign citizens. That's exactly what the sovereign citizens do. The straw man. The straw man don't even exist. Find me one law book or find me one case law where a judge has adjudicated on a case and his opinion on it on paper says anything about a straw man. This woman, I hate to say it, but she's stupid because she's following a hateful Caucasoid ideology, anti-government propaganda. That's all this is. If you do some research on it, you'll find a man named Roger Elvick. But when you don't really do research and you're just some kind of repeating parrot, which is what this woman is, Tefnut Mean Tum, she's just a repeating parrot. She just repeats what she hears. And I don't know who she heard it from. Probably this dude Neb, right? Her Lord and Savior. So, you know, it's a sad day and time when all this information is on the internet, and this woman right here doesn't know how to look up is be a true truth seeker. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't know where they find these people from, but this woman is far from getting the master teacher free in 8 lifetimes. You know, this is sad. And so, and status correction is basically a scam, right? No UCC form is going to free you. The only way you're going to be free is through right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, which leads to sound right reasoning. That's the only way you can be free. You're free in your mind, not on paperwork. So let's keep going.
That is, right? Then you have to follow up now and do UCC 3s and different numbers in order to facilitate that more so. But most importantly, you have to do a security agreement. The security agreement is what makes the control of the straw something.
But you'll notice when she's talking, she talked earlier about being sovereign, and you can't be under the federal government to be sovereign. But she's talking about signing federal and state paperwork to make you sovereign? Does that make sense? Or is that a blatant contradiction of what she said earlier? And this is what I'm talking about, these clowns trying to come up and make money off Dr. York's name, acting like they're in a real freedom fight. This woman is probably broke, ain't got no money. Neb ain't got no money. None of these Negroes got any money, any resources to really help the master teacher. Let's be realistic. She's on here trying to, I don't know what she's trying to do, spew her ignorance about white ideology, which she doesn't even know she's victim of, right? So she's running around like some kind of robot under remote control of white racist ideology, and she really thinks she's saying something. And you're going to get her up, you're going to hear her get upset at this brother named Treaty Nations, who's a true Moor. The rest of these people are just blacks and Negroes. But the brother came in like a true Moor. Listen.
Powerful.
Amun.
A lot of people
Yes.
don't know that.
I just wanted to confirm that, in regards to the tribes, working on this prospect, what she explained in this commercial aspect,
Mm-hmm.
people need to start getting themselves some income with either a job or do something productive, because that's going to be a process. But as far as the master teacher, I believe that the way it's moving, we should be moving in an international aspect. Try to get him out that way, because we see how domestically the courts and a lot of the things that they're doing in the courts, definitely it's a bunch of shenanigans.
Well, stay right there, family. Hold on, Treaty. I'm gonna rock with you for a minute. So now the only international play, right, that I see is he definitely says he's a Liberian consul general and diplomat, and then people doubt that. Follow that? So now it's proven.
Okay. Yes, Dr. York did say that. However, that was under Charles Taylor, and Charles Taylor got indicted in the UN for war crimes. And the new administration did not accept Dr. York as a diplomat. You'll read that in the ECOWAS case. One of the judges said you can't force a sovereign nation to recognize you as a diplomat. And so Charles Taylor, all of his paperwork from his administration was missing until I think recently, maybe a couple years ago. But even with that, the new administration is not acknowledging Dr. York as a diplomat, so he can't use it. And Liberia is under the influence of the United States, so that's probably not going to work.
The whole thing, when people ask me, you say, well, how can you prove that? Well, let's start with the ECOWAS decision. Now, if you deny that he's a diplomat, okay, fine. But one thing you cannot deny is that he is a Liberian citizen, definitely. So that gives you a base and a ground footing that you can stand on, definitely, because the ECOWAS decision is etched in stone. All right? So that means that they would not have heard the case if he wasn't one of their own, because they would be like, well, what does he have to do with us? You follow? So at least bare minimum, we got that. Now,
Right.
yeah. So now, and then you take the research from there. All right. Now he definitely says on the Isles of Patmos that he had a red diplomatic passport. He gives you the date, December 15th, 1999, and November 1997, something like that, when he became nationalized. Now, some people are trying to say, well, he was a diplomat to the Yamasee Creek Nation. All of this stuff just don't, people will say anything. It's not making no sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
It's a terrible thing. It doesn't make no sense, because the fact is that the tribes.
Well, why would the Echoes even waste their time hearing his case if he wasn't? So that you can defeat it really with that.
Oh, let me go
Echoes
ahead, Treaty, start
community, fifth
again.
member state of
Oh,
15
Hakeem.
states.
But you can already tell that the brother is getting pushback, right? He's like, why? The other brother's like, oh, well, why would they hear the case again? They'll just be wasting their time. Let the brother talk. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know that the ego is playing a part. Just let the brother talk. At least NUMA at this point is letting him talk. So let's go.
He's going to hear a case from some so-called person born in Massachusetts who just said he was. Like, wait a minute, who are you? Like,
Hold
really?
on,
We got some
Zamar.
documents. Did you forge this? Are you impersonating?
Wait a minute. I can't hear people. Two people are talking at the same time. Treaty.
Yeah.
Start again with what you were saying.
Yeah. The dual sovereignty with the tribe has no weight compared to international law.
Dual sovereignty?
Yeah, they're not operating independent, external, and sovereign states.
What do you mean by dual sovereignty?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, because see, they operating off the same premise, because they still under the jurisdiction of the USA. All the tribes are.
What are you
Because if they
talking
made a treaty with the tribe, therefore that means they have the upper hand. They have the superior position. The tribes is under
Who is
inferior.
they?
Most of the tribes, United States of
She get
America.
an attitude.
So a lot of treaties that was made with the United States, they dictated those treaties. So there's
But those
not really
treaties are
no
made
independent.
with tribes who are under the BIA, the feds, though.
But the
You're not
tribe
saying
is not independent, external side.
She's trying to say all the tribes under the BIA because I hate to say it, she's a woman, right? She's never been to war. She probably not got into a fist fight, never got shot, stabbed at, never got beat up for saying the wrong thing, right? Because when men talk to each other, you have to talk with some amount of respect or somebody about to get chin checked. Now, I'm not saying she coming at it like that, but I'm saying you know how it is amongst men. There must be a level of respect there, right? And she's saying only under the BIA because she doesn't understand the United States got a military force internally called the police. They got tanks, protection gear, gas masks, they got weapons. They got large radars now, sonar radars that'll hurt your ears to clear crowds. Look, I understand what the brother's saying. Even if they didn't have a treaty, if the United States said, you move, nigga, you move. What you gonna do? You gonna fight them? That's why words are powerful. If you don't have the physical armies, then words are very powerful. So what the brother was just trying to say is that dual citizenship and the treaties that were made with the United States government and tribal governments are all to the United States' advantage. So let's go.
Sovereign states. That has to be made clear. They're not independent, external sovereign states.
right. So they doesn't.
Okay, so
matter.
therefore, you don't have no weight as far as a tribe. A tribe does not have no weight whatsoever. Talk
But
about
Master Creek is not part of that scenario.
It doesn't matter if it's Yamasee or not. It's any
Yes,
tribe.
it does.
She said, yes, it does. This woman don't know what she's talking about. It's all emotions and feelings. Look, she shouldn't even be in this talk. She should go be talking to the women. But look, look, the brother is saying that the tribes don't hold no weight. They don't. As an external sovereign state, a lot of tribes can't feed themselves. If someone came and attacked them, they could not protect themselves. They would have to call the police, which is the United States or that state police. You know what I mean? And so the states are kind of weak. We don't have any diplomatic ties with the United States. You know what I mean? And so Dr. York is subject to that. As you've seen, they pretty much manhandled everybody on Edenton, because politically and propaganding against the master teacher, by Richard, Howard Seals or Richard Seals, at the police chief at that time and around the Edenton area, that yes, they do have power, absolutely, over all the tribes. All the tribes. There's no agreement making any tribe equal with the United States. You know what I mean? So the brother is correct in his assessment of the true strength of the tribe. And Yamasee is weak. There's a bunch of brothers living on a piece of land and living in broken down trailers. You really think you have the power to go get Dr. York? You're broke. You could barely go afford to get Taco Bell, brother. How the hell are you supposed to free the master teacher? Come on, man. This is crazy talk. And when a brother, the Moorish brother, Treaty Nations, comes on here and talks some sense into these people, they get mad and mute his mic. Keep listening. Keep listening.
You
Hold
saying
on, what
one
was
thing,
that? My
but the
bad, y'all. I went out.
international law is saying another. There's no one in the seat at the
Hold on,
United
Hakeem.
Nations, and that's something that needs to be made known.
But the
There's no
seat is
tribe
there.
and no
But the
seats.
seat is there, and it can be occupied, but nobody's occupying it.
This is a money grab, Amun, and these tribes are doing it. That's what the whole money grab is.
Thank you. All they do this for is to use the master teacher's name to make money. He can see it. I can see it. It's easy as watching birds in the day, just flying in the sky, trying to find a dead carcass to eat off of, and that's all this fake ass Yamasee Council. These niggas could barely rub together $50. They probably can't even rub together $50 without getting it from suckers on the outside. That, oh, they're gonna free the master teacher. Let me give them some money. That's the only way they're making money. Just like Tabajet, just like Mario Jessup and his wife, just like a lot of these niggas out here. They're not Nuwabians, they're just niggas to me. Niggas just want money. And they're willing to sacrifice their life to get it. And if you have to stay in prison for them to get money, they prefer it that way. Because if the master teacher was free, trust me, I'm an IT engineer for 12 years. I got my own trucking firm. I would still make money no matter what. I'm a businessman. I'm an investor. You know what I mean? So I make my own money, always have and always will. I'm not a broke nigga from the street. You know, I grew up middle class. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up in the projects. I don't know nothing about it. All of my business is legit. I pay my taxes. You know, so, but these old niggas, these black devils, and this woman on here too, she trying to make some money. And he seen it because logically it lines up. Look, you tried to start a Yamasee council, and the woman admitted at the beginning, Tefna, she don't know what the hell she's doing. So she's easy pickings for someone to inject their thought into her mind and control her. That's why she's spitting out all this sovereign citizen stuff. And you know, the devil will lurk in the woman's mind. So when somebody else says something contrary to her programming, she gonna get mad. You can see her getting mad. Uh-huh. Oh, that ain't got nothing to do with Dr. York. Oh, yes, it does. This woman does not belong in this conversation. Call it sexist, whatever. I'm a man. That's how I feel. I'm a traditional Nuwabian. Women should stay in women's place. Men should stay in a man's place. You heard? Now let's keep going.
And they're using the master's name to get that money.
Certain people are. I'm not.
No, you too. That's include
I'm
you
not.
too.
He said, you too. That's right, brother. You too. This woman, I agree with him 100%. You too. So that's what I wanted y'all to hear. And so now Amun NUMA is going to defend the sister now and mute this guy because they don't like what he's saying. It's not that what he's saying isn't true. They just don't like it because they're not used to hearing the truth. You know, Amun NUMA been spreading lies for a long time about the United Nuwabian Nation Moors and the master teacher. You know, he thinks he's saying one thing, but he's really saying something else politically and publicly, a realm that he doesn't understand to this day. And he's like 55 years old. I'm telling the young Moors out here right now, whether you're Nuwabian or you follow Noble Drew Ali, the era of this fake, everybody has an opinion, just like everybody got an a-hole, right? Everybody got one. You don't have to be an intelligent person to have an opinion, but you do need to use your mind. 9 is the highest number. So 9, the master teacher says, the highest level of thinking a Nuwabian or a Moorish person could possibly do. And that's higher than every other race because we burn more energy and convert more light to energy, more oxygen to energy. That's why we can run, jump, fast, think, speak, talk faster than a lot of other races, right? Because it's just inherent in our bloodline. But when you've been programmed to be a nigga, like Amun NUMA, you'll hear him on the show say nigga a lot. And then you want to come on another show and sound intelligent. It don't work that way. Either you're intelligent or you're not. You can't live two different lives. Give up the street shit and become a Sabian, or just be a street thug nigger. You can't be both. And I see the brothers really struggling with that. But anyway, this sister right here, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And see, she's on here spewing this sovereign citizen bullcrap. Someone may listen to this and actually think she knows something. She don't know a damn thing. She's just repeating what somebody else told her. I know because I've been told the exact same thing about 10 years ago. And I almost fell for it. And I blew about $2,000, sending my birth certificate for apostilles to the Secretary of State, John Kerry, vital statistics in California, making all these mailings, and it didn't amount to anything. I didn't gain any power. I didn't make any money, and my life didn't change. I said, I can't do this. And you can't give me one case law where this has worked. So eventually, if you keep doing that, you go into court. They're going to arrest you and you're going to court. If you don't have any legal defense, you're going to serve Fed time, you're going to pay fines, or you're going to serve state time, or you're going on probation for being a paper terrorist. Look it up, y'all. I'm telling you guys the truth. We don't lie on Rit Nalej Radio. That's why it's called Rit Nalej Radio and not Pamus Batu, which I don't even know what that means, right? But again, I felt compelled to make this video because what did Noble Drew Ali say? He said, man knows not from being told. So this sister was told some bad information, which she probably paid money for and she's invested in, right? So she's under the propaganda machine. And so when another brother comes and says something contrary to what she says, her defense kicks on. And the little bit of attitude comes out. Listen.
No. Don't make that mistake.
That's not fair, Treaty. That's not fair. She came on and explained.
On that.
Let me explain then.
That's not fair. I'm not trying to get no money. I want to get them free.
You got to get it right.
I'm trying to stop the money game. You telling me I'm in part of that? You don't know me.
He ain't got to know you. That's irrelevant. I don't got to know you either. I mean, that's irrelevant. So he may not have direct proof. Just like Amun NUMA talks a lot of crap, and he don't have no proof either. He said United Nuwabian Nation Moors is terrorists. I said, brother, show me the paperwork. I ain't heard nothing since. So the brothers are contradicting. He's just a walking contradicting. Hold on. This echo is on. He's just a walking contradictory person. He's an emotional man who can't control his emotions. And so now he says, oh, you can't say that. Well, I can say you can't say nothing without proof. Your whole show is about spewing garbage with no proof. Like when he interviewed Tabajet. He let Tabajet just run her mouth about all kind of stuff and then come to find out the sister's a fraud. Come to find out it's all a fraud. The master teacher don't want nothing to do with her. Right? But again, Amun NUMA is using his platform to spread misinformation, fake news. You know what I mean? And I'm just calling it out now because it needs to be called out. This brother is a phony. He's a fake. I don't think he really has a big purpose to his life. He needs to pray for guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This brother ain't got no guidance. He's just out here just talking, right? And now we got to nip it in the bud. You know what I mean? Because he's an older man. He should have a greater discernment than what he has. I'm expecting more from the brother because my standards are pretty high for myself. right? So he's older than me by at least 10 years. I'm 45. The brother's at least 55 something years old, but he's operating as if he's 20 years old. And this is why, if you read in The Man from Planet Risk, people stop maturing at a certain age. So age does not mean wisdom. Age just means you're getting older physically. But he's not getting older mentally, and this is the issue that I have with Amunnubi. Now, the sister, I'm already familiar with her techniques and the way that she talks. She's just not even in the game. She wants to be part of the game, but she's not in the game. And obviously, she is trying to make money. I agree with the brother Treaty, though I don't have any direct evidence because this is not going to trial in one of our Nuwabian courts. I would definitely ask for the discovery and that this woman has been duped, right? And I think the brother is saying that she's been duped into this type of thinking where the dude, because if you think about it, if she's in the council under this guy, his name is Neb, right? That this is what she explained. And if he took over the council to make money, he started doing UCCs. But if you listen to this whole video like I did, she explains how the brother Neb took over the council that she started with some other members, right? And now he took over and he's making money. And she's like, wait a minute, I thought I set up the council for X, Y, and Z to free the master teacher, but now you've taken it over and you're just making money off of it. But wait a minute, see, you're guilty by association now because you know he's making money off of it and you still stayed. And then eventually she says she left. So I will give her that. She left this corrupt man named Neb. You know, the brother, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know him personally. I don't even know if the story's true. Right? So Amunnubi didn't call her out when he said, oh, wait a minute, don't throw the brother Neb under the bus. Because Neb, we can't confirm what you're saying. Right? So the brother Amunnubi, you know, this is the only place where he has some power, right, in his life. Once he walks out the door, he ain't got no power. He don't own no land, no cars, his own company. He don't own nothing. So he's a grown man, and a lot of black men are like this. They don't own nothing. They die in debt, and they don't own anything. Right? And if he did have children, he couldn't hand nothing to them. They're not going to inherit anything because he don't own nothing. Now, that's not the way the master teacher presented Nuwabian life to be. He said you should own your business. You should own everything that you want to own, that you should own, so you can pass it down to your children, right? And the importance of, I know I'm ranting here, but the importance of handing something down to your children is so they don't have to start off at zero. Too many so-called Negroes are not handing down knowledge, wisdom, and physical things to their children. So the children got to start in debt. They have to start from zero. And the man knows this. That's why you see a whole bunch of student debt, credit card debt. 80% of United Statesians live paycheck to paycheck, y'all. 80%. People are struggling out here. And jackasses like Amunnubi and Tefna, these black devils, are trying to take even more money from your pocket, and you know they ain't gonna do nothing with the money because they stupid. They too stupid to do something with the master teacher's case. You think these idiots are gonna free the master teacher? Amunnubi sat around for 19, 20 years and didn't do nothing, and all of a sudden he woke up. That's because he was in perpetuity of the evilness that was going on the land. He was part of it. He kicked it with Deuce York. And the other brother who was robbing people with dudes, he kicked it with him. He said it. You are who you hang with, and you don't change your life in 2 days. That's a miracle. And the miracle ain't happened to the brother yet. That's like somebody going from being a gangbanger to a legitimate businessman. That don't happen too often. Probably less than 1%. So if it does happen, it's a miracle. It's a sign. This brother ain't changed one bit. He's still a criminal from the street, and he's still indulged in criminal activity, whether consciously or unconsciously, because that's in his DNA. And that's the way he talks. All right. Now I'm out. I'm not going to play no more of the video. I think you guys get my point. This whole sovereign citizen crap got to go. You know what I mean? It's got to go. There's no place for it in the Nuwabian diaspora or in the Nuwabian community. There's no place for it. The master teacher would not approve of this woman here. He would not approve. The master teacher would be like, who is this? Who is this Tefnut Mean Tomb? You know what I'm saying? And another thing is, she said that the master teacher was calling this Yamasee council. I guarantee that's a lie. I guarantee it's a lie. The master teacher is not calling you. Why? He has lawyers already fighting for him. Why would he call you? It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Why would he call you? You'd have to explain that one. You know what I mean? There's no way he's calling you. I don't trust that. I don't believe nothing. You're gonna have to prove it to me. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, I'm out, y'all. Wadu.